What's up everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we've got a violent scuffle at the UFC London hotel, Mike Brown saying that Dustin Poirier would be great at welterweight, Kevin Holland fighting crime, and much more. Colby Covington says he wants to make more money than Masvidal. Have we seen the last of the rivalry between Jorge Masvidal and Colby Covington? The answer could be a big fat no, as Masvidal has stated that he still wants to fight Colby out in the streets. Still, with all the animosity leading up to the UFC 272 main event, the fact that the former friends turned bitter enemies fighting for a good 25 minutes, it's still not enough. It just shows how much bad blood there actually is in this feud. Despite all the skeptics questioning the feud's authenticity, it's safe to say that there's no love lost here. For his next contract, Colby Covington says he wants to make more money than Masvidal and explained this whole dynamic during the post-fight press conference.
You know, George just signed his contract right before the fight because he knew he was going to get his ass whooped and he wasn't going to have any leverage or power to negotiate after I whoop his ass on Monday morning. So, you know, I want to be paid more than Jorge Masvidal now. He likes to rub that in his face that, you know, oh, I make more money than you, this and that. I mean, first off, no, he doesn't because he pays half of it to Maritza, his ex-wife. So he doesn't make more money than me.
Colby goes on to talk about how in his next contract, he wants to make more money than Masvidal on account of what he's been able to do in the octagon. Masvidal did sign an extension with the UFC that reportedly makes him the third highest paid fighter in the UFC. What do you make of Colby saying he wants to make more money than Masvidal? A shooter is taken down by Kevin Holland in a restaurant. An active shooter was firing gunshots inside of a restaurant in the Highland Village shopping center in Houston, Texas at around 11:30 p.m. on Monday. Luckily, there were no casualties, as UFC welterweight Kevin Holland was able to neutralize the attacker, putting him to sleep with a choke, got the gun away from him, and held him down until police arrived. Holland gave details of the incident to ESPN recently, and it seemed as though another man was trying to wrestle the gun away from the shooter when he got involved, then pushed the gun away from the shooter and got the perp in a rear naked choke. This is what he said happened next.
So as soon as he was asleep, I let go of the choke, slid out on top, got full mount, stretched the arms out so he couldn't reach for anything. We grabbed his backpack, threw his backpack off to the side, made sure the gun was out of play, made sure he couldn't reach for anything. A few minutes later, I ain't never seen the police pull up that fast, so good job to you, TPD. They got there pretty quick.
Holland goes on to talk about how he's been training in self-defense, specifically Kung Fu, since he was a child, and that it was just instinct. According to news reports, the suspect will now face weapons charges, though again, no one was hurt during the altercation. Holland only recently fought on March 5th at UFC 272, beating the Brazilian cowboy Alex Oliveira by a TKO in the second round. What's crazy is that this type of thing keeps happening to Holland. This past October, just a few days after his fight against Kyle Dawkins that ended in a no contest, he chased down a car thief in his coach's neighborhood. What do you make of this whole situation involving Kevin Holland? And what are your thoughts on his actions? Don't forget to take a second to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all of the latest fight news. Mike Brown believes Dustin Poirier might find more success at welterweight. Dustin Poirier is looking to fight Nate Diaz sometime this year after Diaz called him out following his loss to lightweight champion Charles Oliveira this past December. Many fighters, as they get further along in their careers, either make the move up or down in weight. Poirier has already moved up from featherweight to lightweight several years ago and found a ton of success, fighting for the lightweight title 3 times. But now, with a potential big money fight against Diaz looming and seemingly in the works, his coach, Mike Brown, is saying that not only should this fight be at welterweight, but that Poirier could find a lot of success at 170 pounds as well. Case in point, this is what he had to say to MMA Fighting in a recent interview when asked about Poirier. He's plenty big for welterweight. Plenty big. 155 pounds is getting real difficult to make. I'm not certain. He could be a better welterweight than a lightweight. Time will tell, but he's definitely not small for a welterweight. Poirier is currently ranked as the number 2 lightweight in the UFC rankings, but a move up to 170 pounds would put him in the same division as Colby Covington, a former training partner who has been talking a whole ton of smack about Poirier and his wife in the media. Someone with Poirier's resume, if he were to move up to 170 pounds and beat Nate Diaz, might be able to fight Colby, and if he gets past him, who knows, perhaps a welterweight title shot could be in his future after all. All this speculation, however, is only that, speculation. Until Poirier himself says he wants to move up to 170 pounds, then it's not really something to consider. but playing armchair matchmaker is tons of fun, and with high-level fighters like Poirier, who has no quit in him, anything can happen. What do you make of Mike Brown saying Poirier could be a better welterweight than lightweight? Ex-UFC fighter Cody East arrested on several charges, including child abuse and battery. News reports out of New Mexico say that former UFC heavyweight Cody East has been arrested in Albuquerque on charges of child abuse, false imprisonment of a household member, and battery. Reports say that East was allegedly involved in a fight with his wife, accused of refusing to let her and their kids out of the vehicle, all while making threatening comments, and allegedly also pushed her. The 33-year-old East also had 5 warrants out for his arrest for traffic-related violations, according to reports, and is scheduled for preliminary examination in court on April 26. This isn't the first time East has been arrested, as back in 2008, he faced charges of battery and abuse of a child, among other charges, and was sentenced to 3 years in prison. Then in 2010, he was arrested again on charges of assaulting a household member. In 2016, he was arrested for aggravated battery and assault, although those charges were dismissed after the victim and witness failed to show up in court. What do you think about Cody East's latest arrest? Ilia Topuria confronts Paddy Pimblett over statements on Russo-Georgian war. By now, footage of the scuffle between Ilia Topuria and Paddy Pimblett has hit the airwaves. Both fighters were in the Fighters Hotel this week ahead of the UFC London card in the English capital, when Topuria confronted Pimblett about comments he made in the past, and the two came to blows, though no punches looked like they connected. Here's the brief exchange. The Georgian spent a lot of his youth in Spain, and in a Spanish-language interview on MMA Junkie earlier this week before the altercation, Topuria explained that he had a bone to pick with Pimblett. So my reaction to someone talking about this like a joke, when in that war many innocent people died, we're talking about children and people who had nothing to do with that. So for someone to laugh at that, and it's also a painful subject for me because family members of mine died in that war and many countrymen of mine. So it's not something that pleases me, and from there everything started. And what can I say about someone who pokes fun at that? He's an idiot and immature. If he thinks I'm going to take a step back when I see him, then he's badly mistaken. He needs to pray that we don't cross paths because I'll go crazy. Topuria is set to take on Jai Herbert in his lightweight debut on Saturday, while Pimblett is set to take on Kazula Vargas on the same card. But given that both fighters are lightweights now, and if they both get past their opponents this week, the UFC might have a grudge match to set up here between the two. What do you make of Topuria's reason for confronting Paddy the Baddy at the hotel? And what do you think about this whole situation? Thanks so much for joining us today and catching up on all things MMA. What do you make of what's going on in the fight world? Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all the latest news from the MMA Zone. See you next time.